few moments later, he left, and there came a security guy, and he asked me politely to leave the church because there was no room for people like me in the church.
Hi and welcome to the 4th episode of Face Tattoo Talks. My name is Joachim Stijls and for the past 5 years I've been photographing people with face tattoos. You can check out some of my work on my Instagram, which I will link down below. If you like what you see, feel free to give me a follow for more updates. Lately I've been diving into the world of video interviews a little bit more, adding a new dimension to my project. You might have seen my video interviews with Kev and one with Specker as well. Back in 2018 or 2019, Mick was the very first person that I spontaneously walked up to in a shopping mall to ask if I could photograph him one day. A few weeks later we met again and I photographed him at the shop that he was working at the time. Now 5 years later, as I'm working on my upcoming book and I'm drafting his story, I thought it would be interesting to delve deeper into Mick's background through a video interview. If you enjoy this kind of content, please feel free to hit the like button or to share this video with your friends. To stay updated with future videos, and I've got quite some nice ones coming up as well, make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications for new video releases. Creating these videos takes lots of time, effort and gear, so your support really means the world to me. It helps spread the word and allows my channel to reach more viewers. So much for the intro, hope you enjoyed this interview with Mick and see you in the next video. Bye bye.
I'm Mick VW, and I'm a tattoo artist from Belgium, located in Wilrijk, and I'm specialized in dark, trashy blackwork. I've been tattooing, I guess, for something around 14 years now. I'm 33, started tattooing full-time at the age of 20. I mostly do blackwork. If I have to choose something that I really like to do, the one thing that I love the most is dark, trashy blackwork mixed with some organic stuff like bones, flesh structure. But I like to mix blackwork, like the trashy lines, together with the anatomical parts of the body, skulls and bones. How I started to learn to tattoo, it's quite a story. I had my first tattoo machine when I was 15 years old. I had it for my birthday from one of my previous girlfriends. I was studying graphic design at that time, and I was always busy with drawing and all the artistic stuff around it. So she bought me a tattoo machine. I didn't have any ambition to become a full-time tattoo artist. It was not that it was some kind of dream for me, just to express myself, my art. But then a few years later, I met someone new, and she was doing an apprenticeship at that time, and that's how I got more and more involved in the apprenticeship stuff. And I worked as a gravedigger. And I had a work accident which led into surgery for my shoulder. And I knew up front that I was going to stay at home for 9 months. So it was the perfect amount of time for an apprenticeship in the tattoo shop where she worked. So that's kind of a small recap of how I started tattooing or getting into the tattoo scene. Well, it was quite fun. I ended my school career and I was at home, didn't want to do anything. I didn't have any motivation to go to work by then. And then the RVA, they pushed me in doing internships for certain jobs. And one of the jobs was Gravedigger. I was like, well, why not? Sounds cool, like burying people and stuff. I was one of the 200 people who participated on the exam, and I was the only one who passed the exam, so it was funny. Then I was 20 years old, so my first job was burying people, standing in the rain, digging holes. Like I thought when I was going for the application that I had to drive with cranes, but I worked on a really small cemetery, a really small graveyard where there was no room for big cranes driving around with it, so we had to do everything by hand. It was a really tough job. I saw a lot of cool stuff. Like that's why I got interested more and more in human skeletons and skulls. I guess that's the point where I was really interested in the anatomy of bones, bone structures and stuff. My first tattoo was a script, a ridiculous script on my chest, and I was 20 years old.
What did it say?
Where words fail, music speaks. Yeah, I'm a musician, so I wanted my first tattoo to have something to do with myself. It was also one of the things that my mother pushed me to. Like, if you really want your first tattoo, it has to have a meaning. And now I don't have any other tattoos with a meaning, so fuck it. No, she wanted me to have my first tattoo with a meaning. So, music-wise, where words fail, music speaks. I don't know. I'm getting it covered in the future anyway, blackout. But yeah, the first one was on my chest, and then I had to wait for a year. I had to promise my mother for a year that I won't get any more tattoos. So my first face tattoo was, I would say, my first head tattoo was on the back of my head, where it said family. Like, I want my second tattoo, and I wanted family on the back of my neck, actually. But my mother told me, no, I don't want you to get any tattoos on your neck, because everybody will see it. Why don't you put it on the back of your head, because you're always wearing a cap? And I was, all right, mother, if you want me to put a tattoo on my head, for sure. So, and then I put it on the back of my head, like family, and then I guess for me that was the start of an endless road. Like, I guess 1 month later, after that tattoo, I got my the side of my head done, and that was the first one that came close to my face. Yeah, it's nice when you look at yourself in the mirror, and you see that little spot in the mirror. Then yeah, it's over, game over. You want more tattoos on your face. So, and then the first real face tattoo, I guess it was the script, one of those script above my eyebrow, like creative.
What does the other say?
Creative, and the other one was torture.
Any specific reason?
No, because I wanted something on the other side too. But the creative, yeah, like you want something with a meaning, some kind of meaning. Like creative was nice to have it in my face, but then I wanted the other eyebrow, and I had to come up with a word that connects with creative. And then yeah, like torture sounds nice as a word on its own, but I also liked creative torture. Like sometimes it's cool to be creative, but sometimes it's also torture to be creative every day and to push yourself to be creative on demand, I would say.
Can you tell me a little bit about the X?
Oh, damn. The X, it actually stands for straight edge. I used to be straight edge, but I broke the edge. I started smoking again and drinking again. Not that I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict or anything. I don't do drugs, but yeah, I was thinking at first to cover it, but fuck it. It was a big part of my life anyway, so maybe one day I will get back to the other side of straight edge. Otherwise, it's just a memory of my youth. I also have 3 X's on my calf, but I'm getting it covered. The tattoo on the top of my head, it's done by my colleague Jano. At first I had like a torch on my head, but it faded away in the past years, and I wanted to do a blast over because I had hair, and then I shaved it off and I saw the torch and I was like, it's way too light. So I wanted to cover it, but it's a sigil on the top of my head from Belgium. It's a demon that suits the best from my personality, I would say. Nothing too special, nothing too weird, but yeah. I have few cool tattoos, but the coolest tattoo that I have, in my opinion, is on my side. It's done by Green Design. I did it five or 6 years ago. I went to Budapest in his previous shop, and yeah, it's a predator who is fighting with a Tyrannosaurus Rex, because I have really big passion around dinosaurs and predators, alien and predators. So I wanted to combine those two together. Like on this side, I have the predator with the T-Rex, and on the other side, I have Ripley and an alien. Yeah, well, I have like this satanistic stuff on my face, like the sigil of Lucifer, like 666, the sulfur sign on my cheek. I also had a big pentagram in my neck, and one time I went to Paris, and I wanted to visit the Notre Dame, and I was waiting in line, and I had my hoodie and my cap on, and out of respect, when you enter a church, you take it off. So I take it off, and the security guy looks at me, and he was watching me, and he said to me, "Yeah, you can put the cap back on." So I did my cap back on, went inside, and I guess after a few moments, people were looking at me. I felt a little bit nervous, like everybody was watching in a wrong way, like not all that guy has tattoos on his face. So I had to leave the church by then. But I also went to a smaller church in France a few years ago, and it was summertime, so I had like a tank top and shorts on, and I went in the church. And after like 5 minutes in the church, there was like a priest following me. He was looking at me, and every step I did, he followed me like all around the church. And then I guess a few moments later he left, and there came a security guy, and he asked me politely to leave the church, because there was no room for people like me in the church. But the priest was looking at like the big pentagram in my neck and the sulfur sign, so I guess he thought that I was a Satanist. But I'm not, just a cool way of life. I don't know, fuck religion. Yes and no. Like for me, in the beginning, when I did face tattoos on people, in the beginning it was like, this is one of the biggest honors you can have, to put something on someone's face. You can't hide it. You can't hide it anymore. So people will see it every day. And in the beginning, it was pretty stressful to do face tattoos on people. But then if you do more and more face tattoos on people, yeah, it's not that, yeah, you get used to it. It's not that special anymore for you, but still it's an honor to put something on someone's face. I also like the fact that people trust me hard enough, or with their whole life, like people trust me. That's the coolest part about doing a face tattoo, that people trust you so much to do something to change their lives. Like if you get a tattoo on your arm, any part of your body, it's just a tattoo, and you can still get it covered with clothing if you don't want people to see it. But the face is like, you change people, their lives, because once you have a face tattoo, people will look at you differently. So that's also something I say to people when they come to me and they want to get their face tattooed, like their first face tattoo. I say, think about it really well, because this is a life changer, you know? Like when you come outside, people will always look at you. They will have an opinion ready. you will be like an attraction, and it's not a decision that you make in 1 minute. Like, think about it very well before you do this. This is our shop, like from me and my colleague Jano. It's called Ninth Circle, and we are here located for, I guess, a little bit more than 2 years. First, I worked in several different shops, but the other shops that helped me really forward were Royal Bastard Tattoos and my other colleague where I worked, Trashcore, Joyce. I know my colleague Jano for a really long time. We were separated due some circumstances for a while, but then we connected back. We got back together, and I was looking for an option to work a little bit closer to home, and I went to the night shop next door, and I saw that this place was for rent. So, and the next day I did a collab with Jano, and I arrived at his place and I said, there's a place for rent near to my house. What do you think? You want to open a shop? And from that moment, we made an appointment. We signed a contract, and this is Ninth Circle Tattoos now.
Where does the name come from?
The name comes from a drawing from the Dante's Inferno. The ninth circle is the circle with all the traitors, like it's the last circle you go through before you arrive in hell. So it sounded cool, so. Yeah, I'm also a singer in the band, metal band, hard-hitting metal band, Knives to a Gunfight. We're a band now for 11 years, 11 years, 12 years, I don't know. And yeah, we play just hard music, hard metal music. We did quite a few cool things in the past, like our first 4 years were the best. We played around 60 to 80 shows in a year. We played on Grass Pop Metal Meeting twice. We went on tour in Europe, the UK. We also went on tour in Mexico. And then a few years later, COVID came and everything went downhill from that moment. And now we're starting up again. Like, we have a new singer, because we are working with two frontmen now, me and Elling. So we're getting back on track to get back into shape and in the scene. So
thanks for taking the time.
You're welcome. A pleasure.